there's a lot of lore surrounding the Terrifier franchise for pretty obvious reasons. Obviously, especially in 2, they allude to a lot of different powers, mysticism that could be tied to Art the Clown. Terrifier is pretty straightforward in that, you just kind of observe this killer clown. You don't really find out till the end that there is some kind of mysticism there when he comes back to life. And although a lot of people kind of write off All Hallowes Eve, they don't really consider it canon. It doesn't seem like it really fits in neatly into the Terrifier franchise. I still think that there's a lot of hints, indicators that it could tie in potentially, especially with some of the reveals that could happen in 3. Like I mentioned, All Hallowes Eve is kind of relegated to just being considered a very prototypical piece to Art the Clown, his lore, him as a character. But there's one big question that, I've always kind of thought about, and it's why Art the Clown kidnapped that woman to deliver to the devil. There's a lot of implications to this. You don't know whether the implication is that he's an emissary of the devil. There's definitely some kind of demonic tie that brings him back, kind of fuels him, and you don't exactly know why. CZ's World kind of pointed this out, that it seems like artists get haunted by him potentially sometimes. You saw this in All Hallowes Eve, where a painter went catatonic, painted Art the Clown's face. You saw that with what was explained about Sienna's dad. He was a sketch artist and even drew a picture of what looks kind of like Sienna holding a devil's head. At the very least, there's some kind of demonic influence to Art the Clown. And obviously, the fact that Art the Clown would kidnap this woman out of the train station and deliver her personally to the devil indicates some sort of satanic purpose. And it could serve as a clue for what is going to be revealed in Terrifier 3. When it was first made, when All Hallowes Eve was first made, when, the Ninth Circle was made, I don't think that they really intended for it to actually bear any consequence on the rest of the franchise. Probably didn't even know that it would become a franchise, especially to this extent. A pretty epic horror franchise that has kind of almost become popular because of its lore and the mystery surrounding it. But it's not a far stretch to say this. Damien Leone himself said that there are biblical themes in Terrifier 2, and that, obviously relates to the parallels between Art the Clown and Sienna. It seems like that stuff is definitely relevant. I don't think that it should be kind of shirked off like a lot of All Hallowes Eve seems to have been. And they might even kind of retcon it to fit a little bit more nicely in. It's obviously kind of not the black sheep, but All Hallowes Eve just wasn't conceived to be part of this whole thing. I don't think that, they intended for Art the Clown's powers to be really articulated, identified, and well defined when they made that movie. And now it seems like, with how straightforward Terrifier was and how Terrifier 2 expanded on that, I think the next step is kind of trying to create a nice marriage between all 3 of those previous movies. Obviously, Terrifier 2 is my favorite one. I kind of want it to stick closer to that, and I think that it will when explaining what's been really going on this whole time. But it can be understated that in All Hallowes Eve, Art is presented as much more magical than he is ever in Terrifier 1 and 2. Obviously, he also looks very different in the Ninth Circle, that, obviously could be chalked up to the fact that he was just redesigned, but he takes a demonic presence in that movie. He pops up, he's shown to be able to appear out of nowhere. They literally show him come out of a TV, way beyond anything that he ever does in Terrifier 1 or 2. Pretty much the extent of Terrifier 1 and 2, what he does is come back to life, maybe psychologically haunt people, but you don't really see any kind of anything beyond that. Doesn't even seem like him as a physical presence operates on any kind of magic. He still has to physically go places, find people, stuff like that. To a certain degree, he seems kind of bound by the physics of just being a human. Obviously, he survives some crazy shit in those movies, but it still seems like he operates on a plane of reality that he didn't in All Hallowes Eve. And you almost have to view it through that frame. And circling back to the main point of this, why would he deliver her to the devil? That could play into his motivation and what's ultimately revealed in Terrifier 3. What could be going on is that he could be somebody who was endowed with certain supernatural abilities in order to do the devil's work. Now, personally, I don't think that he's doing it because he worships the devil or anything like that. I think that he uses the devil and his powers potentially for his own means. I could see Art being someone who would strike a deal with the devil. He wants to continue his satanic torrent all over God's green earth, and he exacts that by making a deal with the devil that gives him certain powers that allows him to keep doing it. What the devil gets out of it is letting Art the Clown do the devil's work. What Art the Clown gets out of it is continuing what clearly is sadistic pleasure. It's very obvious that he enjoys making people feel pain. When he inflicts pain, it seems like he enjoys what he's doing even more. And that seems like that's the ultimate thing that he operates by. But ultimately, this is all just speculation. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. This video could be totally irrelevant in 2 weeks when the movie finally comes out. I still love to hear what you guys think. I'm GM Light. Have a good one.